K-pop is a pretty fast industry, with hundreds of groups debuting and disbanding at pretty much any time of the year. Even individual idols seem to jump ship from their companies at random, and often so fast that I sometimes lose sight of which idol is in which group. Aside from heavy hitters such as Blackpink or BTS, or even the smaller titans such as IVE or Stray Kids, most of the K-pop casual community is often quite disinterested in the comings and goings of groups outside of these spectrums. Only a dedicated few are truly invested in all facets of the genre and its industry, and even these few tend to linger within their own fandom spaces, paying no mind to anything beyond it. So when a group as well known as Everglow suddenly vanishes from the forefront of the industry with little to no word from their company about their eventual return, that's when most of us have to sit up, take notice, and ask, Yuehua, where the hell is Everglow? Back in 2019, when Everglow debuted with Boom Boom Chocolate, everyone was hailing them as contenders for K-pop 4th Gen leaders. Now, almost 4 years later, it feels like the ball has been dropped with these ladies somewhere along the way. Despite releasing legendary bops like La Di Da, First, and Dun Dun, Everglow has never quite seemed to completely find their footing in the industry, and that's truly unfortunate. I've always been a super casual fan of their music and never quite gotten into the members themselves, but never did I think that their struggles in the industry were because of the girls. From what I can tell, Everglow definitely has the talent to back themselves up. I haven't been a huge fan of some of their title tracks, but B-sides like Together Again, Hush, Untouchable, No Good Reason, and Don't Speak have managed to be great standouts from their discography. So after hearing news that they had to cancel their Southeast Asian tour allegedly due to low sales, I was a little concerned and confused. Especially since Everglow hasn't had a comeback in a year. Now I have no idea what their company is doing or how they'll choose to proceed next, but they need to do something. Now. How did they think that it would be a good idea to give them a tour when they haven't had any new music to perform in well over a year? Now, I'm no marketing expert, but I feel like it would have made more sense for them to at least drop a pre-release single to get people hyped for the upcoming tour. Hell, even YG, who has Blackpink go on hiatus every 5 minutes, knew better than to let the girls come back after almost 2 years to tour without releasing some new music first. Now, obviously, Blackpink and Everglow are not on the same level popularity-wise, and Blackpink could literally have gone on tour without releasing new music for 5 years and still sold out every venue with no problem. But that just goes to show you that Everglow doesn't have the same selling power and their company is treating them like they do. Either that or they just don't care about the trajectory of Everglow's career. Groups who aren't Blackpink or BTS need to release content, and more importantly, music to keep their existing fanbase interested. Otherwise, no amount of tours is going to be enough to keep the group alive. If their company continues going the way that they're going, these ladies will fade further into obscurity and most likely only ever be allowed out of the dungeon to attend occasional festival performances so that the company can continue to milk every available dollar that they can from the group before eventually disbanding them when their contracts are expired. My personal wish list for them, however, is much different. I need their company to take a few pages from Idol's book and just go all out for Everglow's next comeback. Soyeon of Idol has alluded to the possibility of Cube shelving them as a group and forcing them to focus on solo projects for the duration of their contracts if Tomboy hadn't done so well. After their 2021 scandal and hiatus, Cube obviously lost faith in their selling power as a group and realized that they were just as profitable individually as they were as a group. Miyeon got to act and MC pretty much everywhere in 2021. Soyeon got to release her solo and be a judge/mentor on the survival show My Teenage Girl. Uki was snatching up CFs in variety shows left and right in China. Minnie and Shua were briefly even sent back to their home countries to start collecting solo activities. No one outside of the fandom knew this, but Idol was still very much booked and busy throughout 2021, despite the huge shit show they were forced to endure. When they finally did come back together as a group, Tomboy was being treated like it was their absolute last chance, according to Soyeon. Her plan was to make a bold statement with Tomboy and to make the entire comeback as iconic as possible. Say whatever you want about Tomboy, good or bad, but that comeback definitely made a statement. Everglow's company needs to have the same energy with them. They need to release the ultimate bop in 2023, something with just as much power as First and just as much style as La Di Da to truly set the stage for their return. With Eden's previous scandal and subsequent hiatus, before being shipped off to China, Yuehua somehow decided that the best route for the rest of the group was to virtually shut down, when what they should have been doing was further establishing their brand in other ways. Now, I'm not one of those people who scream at companies for not sending their idols to big-name variety shows. One thing some fans don't seem to get about this particular issue is that companies most likely don't send their idols anywhere. If an idol or a group appears on a variety show, it's probably because they were invited and the producers of that show was thoroughly prepared for their appearance. Groups don't just randomly show up in the parking lot outside of the studios, demanding entry and a slot on an episode the day of airing. That's not how television production works. If that were the case, then every single small group would have been on Knowing Brothers and Running Man by now. With that in mind, though Everglow may not be receiving love calls from big-name variety shows, Yuehua could still be doing more to push their brand, even if they don't have the industry power to promote them nationally in Korea. That's why their YouTube channel exists, Yuehua. And for the past year or so, it's been damn near barren. They've only dropped a video maybe once or twice a month since Eden's hiatus, and in that time, the only bit of group activities uploaded on the YouTube channel are a couple of dance covers and some footage from all of the performances that they've attended in various countries. None of this, in my opinion, is enough to push their overall group branding. If a company doesn't have the reputation, brand recognition, or selling power to push a K-pop group to the Korean media, and their domestic audience, which is often the most important, is the Korean public, then they need to get a little creative. Or at the very least, push them more toward the audience that does want them, their international fans. For example, Yuehua could definitely be funding some sort of variety series for Everglow to keep their channel populated with content. There's currently very little social media content for any of their fans to gravitate to, and the content that is there is nothing but update posts about performances or festivals that they've already attended. Even worse is that there's been no actual confirmation from the company about an eventual comeback, only passé comments from members alluding to the possibility of a comeback. When a fandom has been starved of content for over a year, you gotta give them something more than just an occasional fan cafe update picture. At some point, it did seem like they were finally ready to show some sign of life when they released an English single with the producer The Fat Rat back in 2022. I figured that at least that meant that we were on the verge of getting a comeback announcement or an update, but ever since then, it's been pretty much crickets. Overall, I'm just confused. It's not like Yuehua is some small, run-of-the-mill, inexperienced upstart company. They have had some serious brand recognition in China, where they manage several groups, actors, and soloists simultaneously. They clearly have the resources to do more than what they're currently doing for Everglow. Now, I'm not inclined to compare Everglow to Yuehua, because the circumstances here are a bit different. Yuehua hailed from an uber-popular 4th-gen girl group and has ventured into her solo career with a loyal fan base that followed her from IZ*ONE. Yuna's name alone keeps her afloat, and people love her variety personality. I don't know much about Tempest to fully analyze Yuehua's management with them, but the fact that they are outselling Everglow by a very wide margin just goes to show that Yuehua is capable of sustaining and pushing a profitable group. I'm just left wondering where that same energy goes when it comes to Everglow. Since 2021, Everglow have been attending nothing but festivals with occasional stops across Asia and performing the same 6 songs. Ultimately, what we really need is new music, Yuehua. They have had no comebacks and very few actual promotions in Korea in 2022, and that kind of absence can be a death sentence to almost any group, especially if they're under the management of a company that doesn't have an actual vision or plan for that group's career. Hopefully, with the rumored news of them possibly being in the final preparations for a comeback likely to be slated for release this year, Everglow may finally get to knock the dust from those studio mics at Yuehua and step back into the room with their 4th-gen peers.